Welcome back to our Math Talk playlist. Today's episode promises to help you tackle those obstacles and barriers that might be in the way of incorporating that mathematical discourse in your classroom. Remember in our first episode, we talked about the importance of and the need for discourse in your math classrooms. What a great conversation we had with Tricia. Be sure to check it out if you haven't already. So, just like any new strategy, the struggle with implementation really starts by overcoming some of the barriers that might stand in our way. And let's be honest, sometimes those barriers start with students. And so, to learn more about students' feelings about math and what some of those barriers might be, I sat down with a math student expert, my very own daughter, Grayson. Hi there, Grayson. Grayson, can you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself and like your name, your age, what grade you're in?
I'm Grayson and I'm 9 years old. I'm going into 4th grade. I'm on my summer break right now.
Yeah. What kind of things are you doing on your summer break?
I like reading books.
Do you remember what I used to do when I was a teacher? What kind of teacher was I?
Math teacher.
Oh, okay.
Because you really like math and I hate it.
So tell me, do you like math as much as you like to read? You're probably like doing a bunch of math worksheets and stuff this summer.
No.
I wonder if she knows how much that kills me as her parent and a math educator to know how she truly feels about math. But you know, it's so often the case, isn't it? And it doesn't have to be. Students don't have to dislike math. And it's not just that sometimes our students don't like math. There's often other obstacles that stand in the way as well. Like, I just don't have time during my math class to have true conversations about math. What if I ask my students a question and they don't understand? Or maybe even worse, I don't understand what they're saying during the conversation. What if no one talks? You know, that awkward silence. Or maybe it's even, what if some of my students talk way too much and others not at all? These are all really great questions and concerns. So let's get started with overcoming these and any other obstacles that might stand in our path toward more mathematical conversations by bringing in our Math Talk expert, Tricia Chimmel. And so let's talk about that a little bit more because even for a lot of our students, math discourse is going to be new to them. You know, if we haven't seen it in the school before, if the previous year's teacher didn't use it, or even if it's in the middle of the school year and you as a teacher are starting to use it for the first time, why is it difficult for students and maybe even a little bit of how do we overcome that?
It's definitely difficult for students, even students, and sometimes more so for students that are typically what we think of as high achieving students. And so this is what really spoke to me the first time that I read Dweck's book on mindset. And I'll use myself as an example. When I was in elementary school, I memorized really well. And that's fading as I age. But I memorized well and I followed those rules. I was a good rule follower. So I always did well in math. And then I remember vividly in Algebra 2 in high school, not knowing how to approach a problem because I couldn't just memorize a step and get through it. And it threatened my identity as a good mathematician. All of a sudden I thought, maybe I'm not such a good mathematician. Maybe I've just been fooling people along the way. And so what happens with our students is they don't want to be wrong because mistakes haven't been embraced, you know, in that way that Joe Bowler, you know, describes as that powerful piece. It's I'm wrong. And so I'm going to be less willing to ask questions or even share my answers out loud because I don't want to be wrong. And then because I'm not engaging in that discussion, I'm not deepening my understanding. I don't have any of that self-regulatory think process going on. And so, in fact, it does lower my understanding of math. So it's this vicious cycle. So as teachers, we need to be really purposeful about the kinds of tasks we present to students. So first off, we need to give them something to talk about, right? So if it is a yes or no, or 3 plus 7 equals 10, if that's the task, what is 3 plus 7? There's not much to talk about. But if the task is how many different ways can you represent finding the total of 3 plus 7, now we've got a different entry point, right? So I've got students that can pull out manipulatives and do it, some that are going to do it on a number line, some that will create word problems to go with it. So when we have those kinds of low floor, high ceiling tasks, we're giving kids an opportunity to be describing their thinking and comparing it to others and really do some critical thinking. So it's difficult for students because we haven't always set them up with the right task, and because we haven't had environments that embrace those mistakes.
Yeah. So I'm hearing you say that one of the first steps is embracing mistakes and embracing the power of learning from those mistakes and growing from them. We learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes, right? Oftentimes.
Right.
Let's just dive into that a little bit more about how we use Math Talk. So first, let's start with I think a simple question. Is Math Talk a strategy that anybody can pick up and start using?
Absolutely, yes. However, it requires that as a teacher, I have a growth mindset about myself and my practices. There are a lot of fixed mindsets that are floating around in our heads. Word tracks that are playing, like, if I let kids talk, they're not going to be talking about math. They're going to be talking about other things. Or I'm going to lose control. It's going to be chaotic in my room. Or what if they're doing it wrong and they keep going down that wrong path? If I don't show them the right way, they're going to reinforce a mistake. I just don't have enough time. Like, that sounds good, but it's so much faster if I just show them and do it. So the first key is to embrace it's not going to be comfortable or easy. It's going to be different. But I challenge teachers to think about the way we teach reading or the way we teach social studies. And when we are teaching students to make sense of any reading in context, we're asking questions like that start with the words why and how and what do you think? And that good strategy that we use in other content areas, we just need to embrace that in math instead of teaching math the way that I was taught, and that was a long time ago, but rows and watching and repeating what the teacher did. But can I tell you, when I was in school, we as students weren't exposed to algebraic topics till we were in algebra, really, right? So there's a different expectation, and what we had done in the past was preparing students for a world that they aren't living in. We really need critical thinkers, so we need to be thinking differently about the way we engage students.
From our conversation with Tricia, we can clearly see that math discourse is possible. It's difficult, and there might be barriers, but we can make it happen. So if we really want to overcome those barriers that we talked about earlier in this episode, we need to begin by setting up classroom norms. And this is critical because many of our students will likely not be comfortable with or familiar with discourse in the math classroom. So let's look at 2 critical first steps to establishing norms in your classroom for mathematical discussions. First, we have to change our students' beliefs and mindset around mathematics. You've already heard us talk extensively about the importance of mindset and embracing the power of mistakes. This needs to become a norm in a math classroom focused on discourse. Students are much more likely to share their thinking if they know the environment is safe and it's okay to share, even if their reasoning is faulty. And second, We must clarify and enunciate our expectations in our math classrooms. Students must know and understand that they'll be talking about their own reasoning and will be responding to each other's ideas. This means that we have to be clear that the expectation is that everyone will participate in classroom discussions. It's also important that we acknowledge and discuss reasons why some students might not want to talk. All right, this wraps up our session for today. Next week, we'll have a new special guest as we dive into taking steps toward implementing math talk in our classrooms. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
Because you really like math and I hate it. I don't like math as much as I do reading. Reading is way more fun than math. I don't know, sometimes math is just hard.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the HMH International Content Cares YouTube channel. If you're looking for more content, click on the video to the right of your screen. Welcome to our global community.